Hi dear students, in last classes we have discussed about what are solids, differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Actually our present chapter solid state deals with only crystalline solids. So let's move on to discuss in details of crystalline solids in our coming discussions. So in today's class we are going to discuss types of crystalline solids. Crystalline solids are classified into four types based on the nature of intermolecular interactions or nature of bonding. Those are molecular solids, ionic solids, metallic solids, fourth one covalent or network solids. Let's discuss one by one. First, let us start with molecular solids. These molecular solids further divided into three types. They are number one, non-polar solids. Number two, polar solids. And number three, hydrogen bonded solids. Okay, first let us try to understand what are non-polar solids or polar solids. Here, what is the difference between polar and non-polar? What type of molecules are called polar molecules and what type of molecules are called non-polar molecules? To understand this, let us go into the basics that actually you have studied in 11th class in the chapter chemical bonding. Okay, once again let us recall those basic concepts briefly. To understand this, I am going to take two molecules. The first one is hydrogen molecule. It contains two hydrogen atoms, H bond H, and another molecule, hydrogen fluoride. This molecule also contains two atoms, H bond F. What is the meaning of this bond? That you already studied in 11th class and 10th class. Bond consists of two electrons. Particularly in case of covalent bond, these two electrons are equally contributed by the constituent atoms. That means here one electron belongs to hydrogen atom, another electron belongs to fluorine atom. Similarly here also two electrons will be there. One electron belongs to hydrogen atom, second electron belongs to second hydrogen atom. Okay, before going to discuss about this topic, let's once recall one more small topic that you have studied in 11th class, that is electronegativity. Do you remember what is electronegativity? Okay, no problem. Electronegativity is a tendency of a bonded atom to attract a bonded electron pair towards itself. That means simply electronegativity means tendency of an atom to attract a electron pair. Here let's first consider hydrogen fluoride molecule. Here in hydrogen fluoride molecule, here this electron pair or bonded pair is shared mutually between hydrogen and fluorine. But when it is practically observed, this electron pair slightly move towards fluorine due to high electronegativity of fluorine. You know that fluorine is the element with the highest electronegativity. So due to high electronegativity of fluorine, this electron pair moved slightly towards fluorine. When electron pair is moving towards fluorine, fluorine gets a partially negative charge. Simultaneously, hydrogen gets partially positive charge. And due to difference in electronegativities, here this molecule is getting two different charges, are forming two different poles, positive pole and a negative pole. This type of molecules are called dipolar molecules. Okay, Here, just for your understanding, I am giving electronegativity values of few atoms. That is, fluorine is the highest electronegative atom. That is, its value is 4.0. Next, oxygen 3.5. Next, nitrogen 3.0. Here, chlorine also have the same electronegativity as nitrogen. Next, carbon 2.5, and so on. Hydrogen gets 2.1. Electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1. These are the main elements that we need to remember for competitive exams, electronegativity values. Now, hydrogen electronegativity is 2.1, fluorine electronegativity is 4.0. So there is a difference in electronegativity. Fluorine is higher in electronegativity. So this bonded pair move towards fluorine. It gets negative charge. Hydrogen gets positive charge. So a dipolar molecule is formed. Such type of molecules are called polar molecules. Polar molecules. Next, come to the first topic, non-polar molecules. Here, if you see this example, hydrogen molecule contains 2 hydrogen atoms. So electronegativity of each hydrogen atom is 2.1. 2.1 for first hydrogen atom and 2.1 for second hydrogen atom. So difference will be 0. 2.1 minus 2.1, 0 means there is this electron pair does not move towards any of the hydrogen atoms. That means this electron pair is localized, but here the electron pair is delocalized. It moves slightly towards the atom with higher electronegativity, that is towards fluorine. So that's, dear students, the simple concept. This you should understand what are non-polar molecular solids, what are non-polar molecules and polar molecules. Then only you can understand the concept. Okay, now let us discuss about hydrogen bonded molecular solids. Hydrogen bonded molecular solids have hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds. This topic also, hydrogen bonding, you have studied in the same chapter, chemical bonding, in 11th class. Hydrogen bonds are 2 types, intermolecular and intramolecular. Generally, hydrogen bonding is formed between a hydrogen atom and highly electronegative atoms like fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. Now, in this topic, we are going to discuss few characteristic properties of all these crystalline solids. Let's discuss about these 3 types of molecular solids. Here I am going to briefly explain you different properties of these molecular solids. First one, type of solid. Here all the solids belong to molecular solids, under which there are 3 categories: non-polar solids, polar molecular solids, hydrogen bonded molecular solids. And what are the constituent particles? Since all are belong to molecular solids, in all these 3 types, constituent particles are molecules, right? Okay, for these two parts you no need to worry. Next, see from here, bonding and attractive forces. Bonding or attractive forces. What type of bonding or attractive forces exist in these molecular solids? See, for example, non-polar solids. In non-polar molecular solids, molecules are held together by a very weak molecular forces which are called London forces. Okay, example for these type of molecular solids are hydrogen, fluorine, carbon dioxide, carbon tetrachloride. Okay, many examples you can take. All non-polar molecules can be taken as under this. Next, physical nature of non-polar solids. Since most of the non-polar solids are gases and liquids, most of the non-polar solids exist in the state of gases or liquids, so they are very soft. Next, electrical conductivity. Do they conduct electricity or not? They do not conduct electricity. They act as insulators. They are non-conductors of electricity. Next, what about melting points? Since they exist in the form of gases and liquids, their melting points are very, very low. And moreover, they are associated with very weak forces, so their melting points are very low. Next, come to second one, polar molecular solids. These polar molecular solids constituent particles are molecules. Actually, in all of these three, constituent particles are molecules only. Next, what type of attractive forces exist in polar molecules? In polar molecules, just we have seen the dipoles will be formed, partially positively charged end and negatively charged end. So two poles will be formed, dipoles will be formed. For example, if we take this hydrogen chloride HCl plus delta minus delta. So here like this, so dipoles will be formed. So they will have dipole-dipole interactions. These dipole-dipole interactions are relatively stronger than London forces or weak forces that we have discussed under non-polar solids. So these are having dipole-dipole interactions. Though they are having dipole-dipole interactions, stronger interactions in comparison with non-polar molecular solids, they exist in the form of liquids or gases. They are also soft in nature. They are also insulators. Their melting points are relatively high, but comparative to other crystalline solids, they are very low. So next, hydrogen bonded molecular solids. In hydrogen bonded molecular solids, constituent particles are molecules. They are associated with hydrogen bonding, whatever it may be, intermolecular hydrogen bonding or intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Next examples are, best example is water and fluoride, ammonia, etc. Next, they are hard in nature. For example, if you take water in the form of ice, it is hard. Water in the form of ice, it is a solid, so it is hard in nature. So they are also insulators. Their melting points also low. What is the melting point of water? 0 degrees Celsius, means very low. So this is briefly about molecular solids. Okay. Next, we'll move on to next type, ionic solids. Next, second type of solids are ionic solids. Okay, these ionic solids are very simple. Let's take a simple example, sodium chloride, NaCl. You already studied in the chapter chemical bonding in 11th class that ionic bonding, examples of different types of ionic compounds. Sodium chloride, it's a common salt, is the simplest example for ionic solid. Sodium chloride consists of ions Na plus and Cl minus ions. Okay, so the constituent particles in ionic solids are ions. That's why they have got that name, ionic solids. They have cations and anions. And unlike polar solids, in polar solids we have seen, see for example HCl, here hydrogen have partially positive charge and chlorine have partially negative charge. Here also positive negative charges are there, but these are partial charges, means weak charges. But in ionic solids, the positive and negative charges are very strong, so they have very strong electrostatic force of attractions. Electrostatic force of attraction. So they have very strong electrostatic force of attraction. Now type of solid is number 2, ionic solid. Ionic solids. What are the constituent particles? Constituent particles are ions. Ions. Example, here what type of examples? Sodium chloride, NaCl, potassium chloride, KCl, magnesium oxide, zinc fluoride, ZnF2. Likewise, many examples we can take. And here constituent particles are ions. Bonding or what bonding is ionic bond. Attractive forces. What type of attractive forces will be present? Electrostatic force of attraction. Electrostatic forces. Electrostatic forces. These are very strong forces. And what is their physical nature? Physical nature. What is the physical nature of salt? Salt is very hard but brittle. It can be broken easily. So ionic solids are very hard but brittle in nature. Hard but brittle. Next, what about electrical conductivity? Electrical conductivity. This is a very important point. Ionic solids are insulators in solid state. Insulators in solid state. In solid state. But they are conductors. In molten state, molten state, or in aqueous solution, right? Next, their melting points. The melting points are high. Melting points are high. Melting point of sodium chloride, common salt, is around 800 degrees Celsius. So their melting points are very high in comparison with molecular solids. Next, third one is metallic solids. So metallic solids, it includes all types of metals. Say for example, sodium, whose atomic number is 11, electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Here in first shell there are 2 electrons, in the second shell 2 plus 6, 8 electrons, in the last shell there is a electron, 1 electron. Now according to octet rule, sodium loses this last electron, this valence electron, and becomes a Na plus ion to get stability. Okay, so that means all sodium atoms always try to lose that valence electron to get stability. Okay, like neon atom. Okay, let's consider sodium metal crystal. Let it be sodium metal crystal. Sodium metal crystal consists of a huge number of sodium atoms. Let us consider these are all sodium atoms. Huge number of sodium atoms will be present. Okay, these are all sodium atoms. Every sodium atom loses 1 electron to get stability. Every sodium atom try to lose 1 electron to become Na plus ion to get stability, like nearest noble gas neon. Now after, when you take sodium crystal, in sodium crystal each sodium atom after losing an electron it becomes Na plus ion, positively charged ion. But the lost electrons do not move out of the crystal lattice. What are the electrons these sodium atoms have lost? All those electrons will be present. All those electrons will be present within the crystal lattice. Huge number of electrons will be present within the crystal lattice. What are these electrons? These are all the electrons of sodium atoms which have been released by sodium atoms. Since these electrons cannot go out of the crystal lattice, they will be present within the crystal lattice. So, but here the main point, important point to remember is all these positively charged Na plus ions do not move here and there. Their positions are fixed. These are all called kernels, positively charged particles. Whereas these lost electrons can move from one cation to another cation. That means their positions are not fixed. They move here and there. They are delocalized. These are all delocalized electrons. So due to attraction between these positively charged kernels and these delocalized electrons, there will be formation of a bond called metallic bond. That means this metallic bond also seems to be like ionic bonding, where there is a force of attraction between positively charged cation and negatively charged anion. But here the force of attraction between positively charged metal ions, they are called kernels, and the electrons, free electrons, right? This is briefly about metallic bond. Now let's discuss the remaining properties. Here the constituent particles in metallic solids are positively charged ions in a sea of free electrons. Here positively charged ions in a sea of free electrons. Just now I have given one explanation regarding sodium metal crystal, no, there all the positively charged ions are there in a sea of electrons, okay, in a ocean of electrons. So there are very huge number of free electrons. Free electrons are moving here and there like flowing of water or flowing of water in a sea, but the kernels or positively charged ions are fixed. Next, here what type of bonding or attractive forces are present? Here the bonding is called metallic bonding. Metallic bond. Examples, many examples we can take: iron, copper, zinc, magnesium, sodium, all metals we can take. The physical state. Okay, we know that metals are very hard in nature. Metals are very hard, but they can be made into sheets and they can be drawn into wires. That means metals can be ductile, they are ductile, malleable. Ductile means they can be drawn into thin wires. Malleable means they can be made into sheets, just like iron sheets and iron wires. Next, electrical conductivity. What about electrical conductivity of metallic solids? As you know, all metals, most of the metals which are having free electrons are good conductors of electricity, both in solid state as well as in molten states. So they are electrical conductors. They are electrical conductors both in solid state as well as molten state. Their melting point is fairly high. Fairly high. This is about metallic crystals. Next, fourth type, covalent or network solids. Here in covalent and network solids, best examples are diamond and graphite. Why I am saying best examples? You are known about these two examples already, that you have studied in 11th class in the chapter 14 group elements, structure of diamond and graphite, as well as you have studied about these two compounds in 10th class itself, right? Okay, now what are the constituent particles in covalent and network solids? They are atoms. What diamond contains? Diamond contains only carbon atoms. Even graphite contains only carbon atoms. Next, bonding. What type of bonding? Here covalent bonding. Covalent compounds contains, covalent crystals contains covalent bonding. Next, examples: silicon dioxide or silica is also called quartz, silicon carbide, diamond, aluminum nitride, graphite. So these are all very hard except graphite. So the reason for this hardness is they have very strong covalent bonding. They have three-dimensional network structure. The most of them are having giant molecular structure or polymeric structure. So they are very hard. So you know that diamond is the hardest material in the world. Even silicon carbide, quartz, aluminum nitride, these are the best examples for covalent or network solids. Whereas here the graphite is some exceptional case. Graphite is soft. Though it is a network solid, it is soft in nature. The reason for this is its structure that you have studied in 11th class. What type of structure graphite has? Graphite has three-dimensional layers like structure. There is a gap between one layer to another layer. Due to this gap, when we apply some pressure over the layers, these layers slide over one another. Due to this nature, due to this slippery nature, it is soft. So graphite is used in some lubricants. Graphite is used in some pencils like materials. We know that, right? Next, what about their electrical conductivity? So here almost all of these materials are insulators. They are bad conductors of electricity. Do you know what is the main reason for electrical conductivity? The main reason for electrical conductivity is availability of free electrons. Availability of free electrons. In these compounds, there is no free electron available. But in case of graphite, graphite having a large number of free electrons. Due to presence of free electrons, graphite acts as good conductor. There is a question in 11th class that why diamond is a bad conductor or insulator, whereas graphite is good conductor. There you have stated diamond is a bad conductor or insulator because it doesn't have any free electron, whereas graphite is having a huge number of free electrons, so it is a good conductor. So here these are usually insulators except graphite. Most of them are very hard except graphite. Graphite is soft. What about melting points? Melting points are very high in comparison with all remaining type of crystalline solids. Okay dear students, this is briefly about crystalline solids. My suggestion is you first watch the video completely from top to bottom, from beginning to ending. Next, in the second time, while watching, pause the video wherever is required, note down the points and then start watching, and then again pause the video, note down the points, then start watching again. Likewise, if you practice, you will get a complete notes of all these contents. After completion of the topic, you can go through all those points that you have noted down in your notebook, so that it will be very helpful for you. Okay, so in the coming classes I will try to provide you study material also in the link. Okay, but it takes some time, but I will try to provide that. Okay dear students, and you continue to watch my videos, and in the coming lessons you will get more interesting classes. Okay, so please subscribe my channel and comment, like and share. So your negative comments are always welcome to improve the quality of the content and teaching methodology. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.